G'day, ajmahari here. And so the last video I did was about BPD remission and how kind of wonky and sort of like not so meaningful that is overall in general. Nothing to hang your hat on for the person with BPD in your life or who was in your life or who's an ex now, or you're still trying to make the relationship that can't work. Yeah, the same person that asked about that asked a question here on, a video I did. Hang on, I had it. Here it is. Okay. There's a podcast episode actually that came up to the YouTube channel. That I put up to the YouTube channel. They don't just fly over here, No button to do it automatically anymore either. Double the work. On a podcast episode, BPD breakup or relationship recycle, does your ex remember the good times? So, yeah, somebody else was commenting there too. And then this commenter says, in your experience, asking me this question, in your experience, what's the trigger that gets people with BPD to seek therapy? Wow, interesting question. Not really a valid question. A valid question where it's coming from, but it doesn't make sense the way it was asked. Okay. My ex towards the end was admitting she has anger issues and wants to seek help. They often are doing that near the end because they're probably trying to tell you, like, just don't go, right? I hate you, but don't leave me. And she wants to seek help. Anger was only one part of the issue. She has many BPD traits. The commenter continues, I was hoping that if she seeks therapy for anger, then a good therapist can open her up to talk more about her trauma and patterns and provide the diagnosis so she can start recognizing her patterns and how it hurts her and others in her life, then slowly learn coping strategies and heal. Well, in your scenario there, let me first say extremely slowly, as in, 8 to 16 years kind of slowly, in the best modalities, which is not DBT for like recovery. So in my experience, what's the trigger that gets people with BPD to seek therapy? In my experience, there's really no such thing, the way you put that. People with BPD rarely, if ever, get triggered into therapy. They have all kinds of triggers why they don't want to go to therapy, why they're afraid of therapy, why they run from therapy, why they can't make a commitment or take personal responsibility to go to therapy. But there's no, one trigger that would trigger people with BPD into going to therapy. So what really happens for people with BPD, people with BPD will seek therapy for, if in, your case here, that they were admitting that they have anger issues, which is just but a little piece of a huge puzzle, but okay, and that they want to seek help. Well, they might say that and never do it, right? But even if they do say that and they go to therapy for the anger or what they're aware of, then no, when they seek therapy for, say, anger management, for example, with a therapist, that therapist isn't going to be able to, depending who they see, but a lot of therapists won't be able to do the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. A lot of therapists aren't even familiar with borderline personality disorder. And if she just goes to see a therapist who isn't like a specialist in this area, which lots of people with BPD do that, I've heard from all the clients I've been working with over, currently in for 35 years. So, no, a good therapist isn't just, who might not be familiar with BPD, isn't going to be able to get a person who comes for anger management or something around that to work on anger issues. They're not going to be able to get them to open up and do a diagnosis and then get them to go the whole route of treatment for BPD. And even myself, if somebody comes and I've worked with some people who they might not mention BPD, but I can see it there, or the anger issues or other issues, and that's what they want to talk about. there's no way to open that person up. Like, I mean, the odd person maybe, but generally speaking, like if a client comes to me and I can kind of see all the BPD patterns, etc., it's not really in my purview to go there if what they're talking about is anger issues and or say some other issue with anger. But the thing is, because the other thing I've noticed with clients is that many of them might kind of wonder if they have BPD, but usually one of the first things they'll say when they start to talk about why they want to talk with me or work with me is, but I don't have BPD and I don't want to hear about it. So, and when people have limits and boundaries and they're not going to make choices to open, or they're just there for anger issues, but they might have BPD, we're not miracle workers. We can't wave wands. We can't change all the things that people with BPD will fight hard against, will not take responsibility for, don't understand. So again, to this commenter and anyone that relates, but specifically to this commenter, you seem to be pressing way too hard, caring way too much, as if you have like control to make any of this happen for this person. And I guess about to be maybe an ex, right? You said your ex. Okay. Well, toward the end was admitting that she has anger issues and wants to seek help. And of course, anger is only part of the issue. Well, a lot of people, as relationships are ending, however that's going, whether it's like sort of a breakup or I don't know if there's anything mutual or lack of closure, but maybe it's not outright discard or ghost, and they're saying something about that, or the relationship is over and you're still in contact, which might not be the best for you because you're never going to rescue this person, never going to fix them, etc. It sounds like, you really have codependency and you really need to start working on what will help you more so than what's going to help her. Because whatever is going to help her or not, whatever, if she will seek therapy, if she has actual awareness or it's fleeting, and, 2 days after she said that, she, or 2 weeks or 2 months later, still might not get, into therapy, even for the anger issues, might not do anything about it. If you're an ex, is it really like your business now kind of thing? What are you doing for you? The false hope in this is huge. The control issues and struggles and the want to see the person get better, even if you're never going to be with them again. If you're trying to stay friends with them. All this is just out of the control of somebody who's an ex, out of the control of people with codependency. So it seems like you're, and I don't think other people can relate to this, seems like you're investing a heck of a lot still in wanting this person to seek help. And then, you said, hoping that if she went for the anger, some therapists would magically open up the conversation about BPD, diagnose, and all that would work out fine. Probably not. And then they would be working on that. And like you said in your other comment, which I did the video about, a little bit about your question about BPD remission and what the heck does that mean? Because not a whole lot, you seem to be pushing really hard against your cognitive dissonance and wanting this person to get better, maybe so you can be with them again. I don't know. But the thing about that is, because you said in the other comment too, you want her to start recognizing her patterns and how it hurts her and others in her life, and that she would somehow slowly learn, well, coping strategies don't make for healing. They help along the way. But coping strategies learned are but tools to keep on doing the work to get beyond the issues, to actually really heal, recover, and not have to keep on, relying on coping versus knowing and learning and growing and healing to where people are not in those same patterns at all. So I think that this is maybe somebody, the commenter here, and if you can relate, who's got codependency and is still too invested in what is the ex going to do now? Get help, get treatment, will it work, won't it work, will they get to be PD remission, whatever that means, because it doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean anything across the board, for sure. Um, it just seems like, commenter, that rather than focusing on your questions, which are fine questions, happy to respond to them, you need to start looking at, why can't you let go? And is there a trauma bond there? Probably, that you haven't broken yet. You need to think about your own therapy, all the changes that you could benefit from making, including better boundaries around what your ex going to do, go to therapy or not, because they sounded like they realized something. Often people with BPD, maybe during a relationship, maybe towards the end, maybe when it's already too late, kind of a thing, and it's already broken up for that point in time. Too many people think that what people with BPD say is like gospel, full on committed. They get it now and they're gonna change it. And then and that's not the case. It's usually fleeting. It might be something they want to say to change the situation of a breakup in different scenarios or situations. And a bottom line with all this, just like your BPD, remission question that I answered in a different video, I think what you, the commenter, and others out there, if you got all these questions about this stuff too, why are you asking all these questions for the borderline X? Because do you think that if they went and did all this work, which takes years, by the way, that they come back and then they're going to have better coping strategies, and then what, the relationship could work again, or you could make the friendship work? It's just not even healthy, because it's still a codependent way of not helping, not focusing enough on yourself, not going into your own therapy to break the trauma bond, because you need to let the person go. When a relationship breaks up, that's the goal. You need to get into whatever treatment, recovery that you need as somebody with codependency, so that you can so that you can work through the grief and the letting go of the relationship. Because otherwise people stay trauma bonded. And whatever a person with BPD is going to do or not going to do after a relationship breaks up, and they know about, oh yeah, I've got some anger issues, they might say, or yeah, I don't know why I do this thing or that thing, but like I really wish I didn't. And so they sound like they're coming to awareness, but it can often be fleeting. It can have a lot to do with the situation that they're in, and it's not them taking responsibility, and it's not them giving you closure, and it's nothing to hang your hat on. Because even if they go to therapy and over years they're getting better, you need to go to therapy for the codependency, not just a commenter, anybody else out there that resonates. And then when people actually do healing work, they move forward. They don't look back to exes. That includes people with BPD that recover. I'm a great example of that. Only had the 4 core traits, like I said in the last video. But I'm not trying to say I had BPD light because of that. No. And the other thing is, when I healed and recovered, I was well on my way to that. I had a relationship. I think it was 13 years. I'm always like, was it 10? It was so long ago. I don't, whatever. Don't remember. But the thing is, the better I was getting in my process of recovery from BPD, which was, I was far along the road at that point. I broke up with the person I was in the relationship with. Because now, at that point, way back, I knew who I was. I knew more what my goals were. I knew what I wanted. And that person was just, they had issues they weren't dealing with, I think. And they were not motivated. They were, how can I say this nicely? Just not that bright. So they didn't really have any goals, motivation, whatever. And I always remember being frustrated because I could never talk about the courses I was taking, what I was doing, because they just kind of wanted to sit around and watch repeat, not even just game shows, repeats of game shows, okay? What's that about? So anyway, when people with BPD heal and recover, they don't tend to turn back to codependence. And when people with codependency heal and recover, they don't turn back to borderline exes. So that's really the way forward. People with BPD need to heal and recover, seek treatment. Takes a long time, in the most part, maybe some 5 years, but 8 to 16. That's like in transference-focused psychotherapy, one of the best modalities out there. And so this idea, and the commenter didn't say it, but I'm just adding this part in, This idea that you can come back together later, or you'll want to be with them and then want to be with you, and then it'll work out if they've learned how to cope with this, that, and the other. They could just stop splitting, if they could just stop either giving you the silent treatment or screaming at you or blaming you for everything, projecting all over you, and taking no personal responsibility. That can take people years in therapy. And like I said, you had your time in the sun and the stormy weather. And when a relationship ends, it's supposed to be over. That's the healthy thing to do. So appreciate your questions, commenter, and hope that you are getting something from the channel. But if you're looking for hope around these things, no, you won't see videos on that on this channel, because most people are dealing with untreated people with borderline personality disorder. And I'm just not somebody who wants to be purveying the false hope or the misinformation out there of the echo chamber. It's not what happens here. So my keeping it real to help you heal on this subject would be, you need to get focused on you. You need to worry about your own healing recovery. You can't rescue, save, or change that person who's now an ex. And it's not healthy to think about recycling. And if they ever got to a place where it would feel better for you to relate to them, you're still going to lose yourself to that place. Because what about how about, it would be better for you and anyone that can relate to this to get into your own healing recovery journey now for codependency, what you've been through, how did you get with somebody with BPD, because it's almost always related to something that was wounding in childhood. So you get to know yourself better if you work with somebody, like I'm out here to work with people that resonate with me, heal the codependency, and to break the trauma bond with somebody with BPD, and to move forward, and to not be hanging in there. And no matter the rumination, the cognitive dissonance, where people are in rough places right now, you can't keep yourself, your needs, your wants, and whatever else it was with the relationship, of how you externalized out and tried to get from a person with BPD your needs met, because people with codependency have their own unconscious repetition compulsion cycles of seeking to fix something from childhood that's likely in your unconscious and disavowed in a wounded inner child part of yourself. That's what you need to find out more about. That's what you need to work with somebody about. Your own path, your own empowerment, because so many people, why do you lose yourself to the borderline in the relationship? Because you abandon yourself, you focus all on them, you're trying to control them, maybe knowingly, maybe like half unconsciously, because you want them to be who you need them to be. Just like they want you to be who they need you to be. Doesn't work. It's trauma bond, fantasy bond aspects, and betrayal bond aspects of trauma bonds. These relationships, that borderline is not your twin flame. That borderline is not your soulmate. You're not meant to be together. Love is not something people should have to fight for. And where there is abuse in any measure or any type, there is no healthy love.